Covering local prep sports in North Dakota, it's time for the Rural Sports Wraparound. Here to talk the best of sports in your own backyard, here's Nate Coen.
Welcome back to the Rural Sports Wraparound on the Minnesota State Moorhead Breathing Fire Podcast Network. My name is Nate Coen. I am your host. We're going to talk all things small town sports again today. This is the second episode of what we're doing here on the Rural Sports Wrap, and I'm really excited. I think we had a lot of good things happen since our last episode. I think our first episode went pretty good. I think that I was pretty happy with how it came out. So now we're gonna keep the train on rolling. So yeah, let's see what happens, right? We have kind of nowhere to go, but just keep on doing this. So we're going to continue with this. We're going to talk football and volleyball again, as we so often do, but I've also got a cross-country little deal that I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk some cross-country later on in the program, so that's going to be a lot of fun. Then we're going to break. We're going to talk some football. There's kind of some interesting football stuff going on here as we are headed down. It's hard to believe we're headed down the home stretch of that season, and we are nearly to the Dakota Bowl. So let's just get right into it. I do want to talk volleyball to start because there has been some interesting developments in the volleyball world, and one of those being Kindred. I kind of talked about that stretch they were going to go on. Kindred has played that stretch, and I think we've learned a lot about how the region is going to shake up. So I'm interested to see, I'm interested to talk about that, and we're going to do that later on here. So let's just start off, right? Let's talk volleyball. Kindred played, you might remember I brought up in the last program, Kindred played I was really high on Kindred. They played a solid first half or so of the season, and then I thought that they had a big test coming up in the fact that they were going to play Northern Cass, Central Cass, Oak Grove, and Valley City. They were going to play them all in one big stretch. Oak Grove is the only game remaining of that stretch that I mentioned. Here's how Kindred did. They lost in 4 sets to Central Cass. They lost in 5 sets to Northern Cass. And they beat Valley City in 5 sets. And if anything, I think that really just showed me that we have a lot more open region than it maybe felt. It definitely felt open for sure when we started off, but I think that it really feels more open now that we are getting into that part of it. So the loss to Central Cass in 4 is what really surprised me about that stretch. I said we were going to learn a lot about Kindred during, those 4 games, and I think we did learn a lot about Kindred. I think that Kindred maybe isn't such a runaway as I maybe made them seem to be in the first episode. I mean, I made it seem like they were maybe a top contender. It almost feels like that Kindred team could maybe get tripped up. And I point to that. I'm going to continue to point to that loss to Central Cass in 4 because, I was talking with Brad Anderson, another sports reporter in Region 1, and he also writes with me at The Reporter. And Brad and I talked, and Brad, who called that game on his station 103.9 The Truck, had pretty much told me, it kind of felt like that offense went very stagnant, and it was really, really difficult for them to score, really difficult for those things to come to fruition. That offense really struggled, and that was especially because it felt like Taylor Sanders maybe didn't have her best stuff that night, and the other options, maybe weren't ready to be, the primary form of attack for that Kindred team. And then that loss to Northern Cass, I think, is really interesting because they got reverse swept. They went and they won the first 2 sets, and then they went and they lost the final 3. And that is not great at home. That's not something you want to do while you're kind of playing on your own turf at all. I think that they really wish they could have that one back because that is not a split that they want going into the season. And that's especially not a thought that I think they want to have in their mind. When we get into the tournament season, should they get matched up with Northern Cass, you certainly don't want that monkey kind of on your back that, the last time we played these guys, we really kind of fell apart in the latter moments and things really didn't go as great as we wanted them to. So that's definitely something that we're going to want to pay attention to. That loss felt really not so great. But for Northern Cass, that was really great. That was a really gritty win. And for Central Cass, too, I should point that out. What an incredible win for Central Cass, because I think that kind of proved a lot of people wrong. It got them a key win in region standings, which I'll talk about later. But Northern Cass also, I think, should be happy with how they played. That was a gritty win against a really good opponent. And that's a win that I think kind of sent a message to the rest of the region. I had talked about the fact that I thought Northern Cass was capable of being a tournament spoiler or a season spoiler, where, if you got matched up against them at the wrong time, you didn't have your best stuff, it might be adios for your season. And I still think that, with that reverse sweep of Kindred that they had last week, I think that is definitely still on the table. Absolutely something that could happen come tournament time. And I think that the Northern Cass team kind of sent a message to the rest of the region. The 5-set win for Kindred over Valley City, incredible. And I think that it really comes down to that X factor in Taylor Sanders. She had 27 kills in that match. Really, really impressive stuff. Anytime you've got 27 kills in a match, that's going to be, you're going to be a tough team to beat. So I was impressed that Taylor Sanders, I think that that's what it comes down to. And you hate to say that it's so one-dimensional, but I think that when she has her best stuff, they're really difficult to beat. But if she's not really on her A game, it might be difficult for Kindred to find the offensive options required to go out and beat a good team like a Central Cass or a Valley City or a Northern Cass, or Oak Grove. So that win in 5, I was really impressed, because that was Valley City's only region play loss of the season. They beat them in 5. They avenged them from Valley City beat Kindred in 5 sets at home, or when Kindred was at home. So, good avenge for that loss. They lost theirs on the road. Well, then they went and they won. They won against Valley City on the road. So, hey, they got the season split with Valley City. We will see as the season kind of plays out if any other teams can say that they do that. You might be a little more surprised than you think. I think it could go either way. So we're going to see how that happens, how that all shakes up. It's going to be fun to see how that goes. There's one game left in that. The 7 labors of Kindred Vikings. No, there's one game left, that Oak Grove game. They're going to go to Oak Grove. So let's see how that goes. It's going to be a tough match for sure. Oak Grove is a tough team to beat. And they really bring it in that gym. It's a good atmosphere in there. The fans are really into it. The students are into it. They're a tough team to beat in general, but they're even tougher, I think, at home than they are on the road, especially. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes, how that happens. Let's take a look at the region standings. Valley City is currently atop the region standings in volleyball. They're at 6-1. And with that Northern Cass win over Kindred in 5, they actually opened up a 2-game lead over Kindred and Central Cass, because Central Cass fell to Valley City on that same night, 3-0. That was a straight set sweep. So they opened a 2-game lead over Kindred and Central Cass. Valley City did. Oak Grove trails Valley City by 1.5 games. They are 5-2 in region play, and then Northern Cass sits at 3-4. So that's how we shake up there. Now that I've talked some volleyball, we kind of have the gist of how that's going to go. Reminder: those tournaments are coming up in November, and the season will wrap up at the end of next month. So let's see how that goes. Like I've mentioned, that's going to be a super chaotic tournament. Reminder that your top team gets into state under the new 3-class volleyball system. Your second and third place teams go on to play a region qualifier against the region 2, 2, and 3. So we'll see how that goes. We could see multiple teams from this region in the state tournament. I think that would be excellent. I would really enjoy that. Valley City, Kindred, Central Cass, Oak Grove, Northern Cass. Any of them, I think, are players. Any of them are able to, kind of do some things in the region tournament. So let's now move on. Oftentimes I find myself kind of getting pigeonholed a little bit into your volleyball, your football, the sports that are kind of, I don't want to say the bigger sports, but the sports that are, really heavily covered. And they're kind of more of the focus of, they're the ones you see on the Friday night news and the things that you see, on the television and those things. So we get kind of pigeonholed into that, but I did have a chance to talk with Marv Roski. He's the Central Cass cross-country head coach for girls and boys. Roski also coaches at Concordia coaches girls cross country. So that was kind of fun to find out. I actually went and I spoke with Marv at Concordia College. He's been coaching there for 31 years, which I was really, really astonished to find out. And Marv and I had a great conversation. I appreciated him taking the time to talk with me. I've got a couple cuts with him that I'd like to share with you guys about his season. They are having a somewhat historic season as they are kind of ranked in the state. They're chasing down a podium finish. So let's see if they can do that. Their state meet is the weekend of October 24th and 25th. So that is going to be interesting to see how they do there. In the girls' side is where they're chasing down that podium. They've got 4 great senior girls. Marv was telling me all about it. They've got 4 great senior athletes, and they've got girls that are ready to contribute. If they can place a podium, if I remember correctly, they've been flip-flopping with Botno for that 5 spot. So it's really going to come down to who brings their A game at state. And Marv seems like his team's ready to do it. It would be their second podium in program history if they can get it. So I'm rooting for the Central Cass Squirrels girls, the Squirrel Girls cross country team at the state cross country tournament. I talked with Marv Roski, their head coach. Here's what he had to say.
I feel like we're building. At the same time, every team feels different. I mean, the first year and I was an assistant that year, we graduated 2 really good guys, and that was going to be hard to replace. And then last year we graduated, Emery and Mallory DeVries. Right. And Mallory's also running here at Concordia. But anyway, those are big shoes to fill. But then there's always somebody else. If your program's doing well, hopefully there's always somebody else. So we got a few kids out this year that weren't out before, and that's helping. The young girls got a year older, got a year better, and the young kids. And then we have 4. I guess when I'm talking about the girls, we got 4 really good seniors. Because we don't even have a senior in the boys team.
Right. I actually am glad you brought up the seniors, because I just want to talk about what kind of teammates are they, and what do they bring to your team?
Well, they're veterans. They've been through it.
Yeah.
So when they were sophomores, we were 5th at state. Okay, and that's I believe if you look back, I think that's the only time
I remember you
Central Cass
that,
has ever been in the top 5.
Yeah.
So and that's that's the podium to be in the top 5. And then last year they missed by a place. They got 6th. Okay. So now hopefully this year we've been kind of flip-flopping with Botno as the 5th ranked team in the state.
Sure.
1 week it's them, the other week it's us. So the 4 seniors have kind of been through it all, and they know. So they're veteran, and the other kids can learn from them, not so much by what they say, because they're kind of quiet, but by following their example.
Sure.
Yeah, those 4 girls are really good, and they're at the top of our lineup.
I see.
Yeah, and our kids and distance runners in general, they want the cold temperatures. It's hard to really pound a hard workout out when it's just so hot. So sometimes you have to modify things. There's a day, one day in particular, it's really hot. So everything we did inside. So we did a lot of things. We played a game that involved some running in the hallways, and then we just did a lot of the extra things that you want to do for your runners outside of just running, just so we weren't wasting a day. Yep. Sure. There have been a couple times where we moved into the morning practice,
sure,
just to beat the heat. There was 2 races, including our home meet, where they shortened the 5K distance to a 3K, just so it was safer for the kids, because you're trying to train them, you're trying to race them, but your priority is to make sure they're safe. Nothing bad doesn't happen to anybody.
Thank you to Marv for that. Appreciate the hospitality, inviting me into his office in Concordia just to have a great old conversation, a good sit down. I appreciated his time. Best of luck to his team at the state tournament coming up, and all of the local teams at their state meet coming up the 24th and 25th of October. That's going to be good. I'm excited. I'm rooting for all the local teams, but I'm especially rooting for those Central Cass Squirrel girls to get that podium finish. hope it can happen for them. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back and talk football. Reminder, you're listening to the Rural Sports Wrap on the Breathing Fire Podcast Network as a part of Minnesota State University Moorhead. Welcome back to the Rural Sports Wraparound. A reminder that I am your host, Nate Coen. You've got it locked in on the Breathing Fire Minnesota State Moorhead Podcast Network. We're going to talk football in the second half of this program. We talked lots of volleyball and a little cross country in the front half of the show. Now in the back half, we're going to let football take the center stage. So I've kind of flip-flopped in from how we did it the first time around. Let's talk volleyball. First off, I got to talk about these Kindred Vikings because they've been absolutely ridiculous this season. They are proving themselves to be a 2A juggernaut. They're the number 2 ranked team in that division right now. They went and they played. They were undefeated entering last Friday's game. They went and they played another undefeated team in Grand Forks Central. Went to Grand Forks Central and they handed it to them. They took it to them. They went and they beat them pretty handily. I think that they kind of put the rest of the regions or the rest of the teams in the region on notice. And I noticed that they especially did because they got a couple more first place votes in the recent polls than they were getting before over Minot North. Minot North is your number 1 ranked team right now in that, but Kindred is coming, and I think that Kindred is really having an excellent season. Also, we should note that the Central Cass Squirrels, they took down Fargo South on Friday. They went to Fargo South and they took them out. That was a good region win for them. That's kind of keeping them in the playoff mix. So we're going to see how that goes as things go down. I do want to talk about this, though, because the week before the Vikings defeated number 3 Grand Forks Central, they also got a crack at Fargo South, and they were dominant. I was there, and I did take the chance to kind of talk with but to take in the sights and the sounds of that, and got a little bit of an assist from some of my pals at 740 The Fan and the Mighty 790 KFGO. So now I'd like to show you a little bit of what happened in that game between Kindred and Fargo South. The Kindred Vikings took down another region opponent in Division 2A football, proving them as the team to beat in the East with a 35-3 victory over the Fargo South Bruins. Fargo South struck first blood with a field goal to take the lead 3-0. Sawyer Hess didn't allow the Vikings to trail for long.
His name is Sawyer Hess, folks.
Whipple and shotgun, man in motion near side, 2 backs in the backfield, handoff to Sawyer Hess, running to his right, cuts to the inside, he's inside the 5, touchdown, Kindred! A 6-yard touchdown run by Sawyer Hess. And just like that, the Kindred
offense
Vikings
stalled in the first quarter until gunslinging Gabe Whipple broke free on this second quarter scramble.
Fake the pitch out. He's going to be inside the 15, 10, 5, touchdown!
Luke Starcevic then piled on a touchdown grab on a post route to make it 21-3 for the boys in blue. Division I darling Brooks Bacco then joined the fun, deciding his quiet night was over.
Whipple drops back to pass. Going deep down the far sideline, wide open, Bacco caught at the 20, 10, touchdown Vikings!
Bacco's touchdown concluded the opening half. There was just one score in the second half. Kindred withered away much of the clock in the third quarter on one drive. Miles Thilgus, the Great 8, punched in the score to bring the game to its final, 35-3. Kindred remained an undefeated 6-0. They are the number 2 ranked team in Division 2A football behind Minot North. Really impressive stuff from the Vikings there. You gotta love that team. Just a good story for them, their first season in Division 2A after reaching the Dakota Bowl back-to-back years in Division A. So really exciting time. The Vikings have two games left, They play on Thursday, and then they play Central Cass on October 24th. That game is going to be in Kindred. That game will be a slobber knocker. You can count on that. That's going to be fun. So I'm excited for that game. And that game could prove to be pivotal. Kindred is kind of a shoo-in to make the playoff, but Central Cass could be in the midst of a big fight for kind of one of the lower playoff spots. So we're going to see how that goes. I'm excited to see how that shakes out. And that's going to be a good game on October 24th. Mark your calendar. But before that, we can't get too far ahead of ourselves because we do have to talk a little bit about some of this business that's going down in Division A, Region 1. It's where those darn Vikings and Central Cass Squirrels used to play. Well, your Northern Cass Jaguars are still playing down there, and they're having an excellent season, as I mentioned before, and they have their best season since 2016, I mean, flat out. And it's their first time they won 5 games or more since then, and they look good in the region standings and things like that, so it's fun. I do got to talk about it because, I had my wisdom teeth taken out on Friday, but that wasn't going to stop this old Jag from getting down to see his alma mater take on Ellendale Edgeley-Culm for first place in the region. It was a 28-12 loss there for the Jags in that game. Kind of a difficult one for them. It felt like there were times where they could have really pulled themselves right back into it, but just couldn't cash in. I think, especially to that the third down stop, the first and goal stop at the end of the first half. Ellendale Edgeley-Culm really dug their heels in there, and I mean, no passing in there. I mean, it was excellent to see that. Really a great effort by the EEK defense. And then I think also to that interception and the goal in the end zone. That was another killer moment for them that really, I think, hurt their momentum. 28-12 was the final score of that game. Both teams were tied at 4-1 in Region 1 play. That has now changed. EEK is now up to 5-1. They are in sole possession of first place in the region. Hillsborough Central Valley, Lisbon, and Northern Cass are all log-jammed at 4-2 for second place in the standings. Now that is going to have some playoff implications. We are going to have to find out on Friday. This season closes out on Friday for these Division A guys. So we're going to have to find out who gets in. Not everybody is going to, and that's going to be really interesting. I believe Oaks is at 3-3 right now as well. So we're going to have to see. I think Oaks, I believe Oaks is not mathematically eliminated yet from that playoff contention either. So it's going to be something to pay attention to on Friday for sure. That's going to be Friday, October 17th. Northern Cass, they're going to be matched up against Valley City, who are actually moved down from that 2A division. But Valley City, they're matched up on October 17th. For the Jaguars, that game is going to be a win and in. Our friend Brad Anderson is going to have the call of that one. I'm excited to recap with that one. I'd love to get Brad on this podcast eventually and talk with him just a little bit about these Jags, about this volleyball fiasco. I mean, all of it. Brad is a super awesome guy. Hopefully we can get him on the pod soon. That'd be a lot of fun. So let's do that soon. But for the meantime, let's focus on what's going on here, because this is going to be fun on October 17th. Keep your eye on those games. Hillsborough Central Valley, the Lisbon Broncos, and the Northern Cass Jaguars are all dead knotted at 4-2, all fighting for playoff spots. I would love to see the Jags get in. I think Tyler Eukstead, the head coach there, really deserves that if they could do that, if they could get in. I mean, he's really seen a lot of bad hands as the head coach of that football team. It would be fun to see them get in. And I believe that they're not even out of maybe hosting a playoff game, which would be really cool. I don't think they've hosted a playoff game in almost 10 years. So let's see what happens. October 17th, I will have my eyes deadlocked on what's going on with the Jags and the Valley City Highliners. That's going to be fun. Well, that kind of concludes what I've got going on for the Rural Sports Wraparound. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Let's shout out a couple teams to watch. Your team to watch from the first half of the show, it's going to be your Central Cass girls cross country team, looking for their second podium in program history. Your team to watch in football is, again, I hate to double up, but it's going to be those darn Northern Cass Jaguars, as they are looking to claim their first playoff berth since 2019. They have already secured themselves their first winning record since 2016. Hopefully they can get in the playoffs, and I would love to see that team host a home playoff game. That would be a ton of fun. I really would look forward to that if they can somehow find a way to finagle that. So that's what's going on. My name is Nate Coen. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this. You've been locked into the Rural Sports Wraparound on the Breathing Fire Podcast Network as part of Minnesota State Moorhead.
You've been listening to the Rural Sports Wraparound on the Minnesota State Moorhead Breathing Fire Podcasting Network, bringing you the most up-to-date predictions, highlights, and interviews that cover all things North Dakota prep sports.